Today, we're diving into the story of Bangladesh, a nation that's, well, on the absolute front line of climate change. We're going to break down how one of the world's most vulnerable coastlines is being managed against some pretty incredible odds. So let's get right into it. I want to start with just one number: 35 million. Just let that sink in for a second. That's more than the entire population of Canada or Australia. It is a staggering figure. But what does it actually represent? Well, that number, that's how many people live in Bangladesh's coastal zone. And this question right here, it gets to the absolute heart of our explainer today. Because for these 35 million people, climate change isn't some far-off idea. No, it's their daily reality. To really get our heads around this, we're going to follow a pretty clear roadmap. We'll start with the unique geography of the place, then dig into the threats it's facing. We'll look at the first big plans to fix things, understand why they struggled, and then we'll explore the incredibly ambitious plan for the next 100 years. So what is it about this coastal region that makes it so unique and so incredibly important? Well, it really all starts with the geography. The scale of this place is just mind-boggling. The coastal zone covers nearly a third of the entire country. And we're not talking about some empty stretch of land. It's a super dynamic 710-kilometer-long system bustling with life and business, home to the world's largest mangrove forest, tons of islands, and it's all shaped by three of the most powerful rivers on the planet. And you have to understand, it's not just one uniform coast. Geographically, it's got three totally distinct personalities. You've got the east, which is hilly and a bit more stable. The west is a low-lying tidal plain. But that central region, right around the massive Meghna River estuary, it is in a constant state of change. This diversity is so important. It means there's no single, easy solution to its problems. Okay, so now that we've got the lay of the land, let's look at the immense pressures this vital region is up against. And honestly, it's a story of a coast under siege from pretty much every direction. This right here lays out a stark, and let's be honest, deeply unfair contrast. Bangladesh contributes less than 0.1% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Tiny. Yet, a 1-meter rise in sea level, which is a direct result of those emissions, would wipe out nearly a fifth of the entire country. It's a textbook case of climate injustice. And you know, sea level rise is just one piece of this dangerous puzzle. It creates this domino effect, this cascade of hazards. Higher seas means cyclones can push more powerful storm surges inland. That leads to worse, more frequent coastal flooding. That flooding then shoves salt water further and further inland, poisoning farmland. And all that water just chews away at the land, causing constant erosion. They all feed off each other. Let's just zoom in on one of those threats for a second: salinity. This chart shows what you could call a silent invasion of saltwater. Between 1973 and 2009, the area of land affected by it grew from around 83 million hectares to over 105 million. That's a massive area of what was once productive farmland and a source of fresh drinking water, now basically unusable. And then, there's the most devastating cost of all. This number, 718,000. That's the estimated number of people who have lost their lives to tropical cyclones in this region over the last 50 years. It's a tragic, sobering reminder of the real human stakes here. So, faced with this overwhelming cascade of challenges, how did Bangladesh even begin to respond? For decades, their main strategy was built around one central idea. That idea is called Integrated Coastal Zone Management, or ICZM. The key word here is integrated. See, the goal isn't just to go out and build a seawall here or a dike there. It's about creating a process that brings everybody, government, local communities, different industries, to the same table to manage the coast in a sustainable way. And the approach they laid out was very structured, very logical. You start high level, creating a national policy. That policy then guides a more detailed strategic plan. From that plan, you develop specific programs. And finally, you get those programs running on the ground. A clear, step-by-step process. And as you can see from this timeline, this wasn't some new idea they cooked up overnight. Bangladesh has been working on this stuff for decades. You've got major milestones like the National Coastal Zone Policy in 2005 and a development strategy the year after. The framework was there. The intention was definitely there. But you know, having a plan on paper is one thing. Making it actually work is a whole different ballgame. So how did these ambitious plans hold up against the harsh realities on the ground? It was time for a reality check. This quote from the research is pretty blunt, but it really tells the story. Despite all the planning, all the strategy sessions, the results of those early efforts were, frankly, not good enough. They just weren't satisfied. So the big question is, why?
This table really breaks it down. You can kind of group the problems into two big camps. On one side, you have the classic bureaucratic hurdles, policies that didn't have any real teeth, government agencies not talking to each other, not enough trained people, and a critical lack of money. On the other side, you had these overwhelming on-the-ground realities, constant population pressure, people overusing resources, pollution, and a climate just changing way faster than anyone could keep up with.
So the main takeaway here is this. The early approach, while it was well-intentioned, had some really fundamental flaws. It was too focused on just land-based solutions, and the complete failure of different groups to coordinate meant that a lot of projects just fizzled out. For the people actually living on the coast, the help that was promised often never really showed up in a meaningful way. This realization, this failure, it led to a much bigger, much more profound question. If the old way of doing things isn't even working against the problems we have today, how on earth can you create a plan that will protect your nation for the rest of the century? And that brings us to Bangladesh's incredible answer. Not another 5 or 10-year plan, but a full 100-year vision. One of the most ambitious national strategies you'll find anywhere on the planet. It's called the Bangladesh Delta Plan 2100. They developed it with the Netherlands, a country that knows a thing or two about managing water. And it is a massive long-term strategy. The goal is nothing less than ensuring a safe, resilient, and prosperous future for the entire Delta. And you can see here, this plan is about so much more than just defense. It's about safety, for sure, but it's also about creating a shared knowledge base for everyone, reforming the institutions that were failing, and actually encouraging new ideas and innovation. It fundamentally understands that you can't separate climate resilience from food security and economic growth. It's a plan for both survival and prosperity. Which leaves us with the ultimate cliffhanger, the final massive question. Bangladesh has created this extraordinary, forward-thinking blueprint. It's brilliant. But in a race against time, can even the most holistic 100-year plan outpace a climate that's changing faster than anyone ever predicted? The answer to that question will define the future for millions.